Chaz actually came into the program when his wife said, I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. Is that kind of when she started voicing her concern that separation was in the near future for you guys?
Yeah, it was.
You just got to be coachable. Today I'm visiting with Chaz, and he's giving us a testimonial. He had a great experience where his marriage got restored with his wife. He has a child. He got married as a child, got married when he was 18, been married for 9 years. The last 3 or 4 years, kind of a rocky road. And his wife ultimately ended up blocking him on social media, started with separation, which ended in her moving out and her saying, I want her divorced. She had another guy that she was hot and heavy for that she had met during the separation. And Chaz actually came into the program when his wife said that I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. Ended up blocking him on social media and said, I don't want anything to do with you outside of when you're going to pick up our daughter. So Chaz, tell us just a little bit about, so you guys got married at 18, is that right?
Absolutely. I'm 27 now, so we've been married like 9 years at that point.
Okay, gotcha. And so you guys, did y'all have like a relatively good marriage up until like the last 3 or 4 years when things kind of started becoming more like a business relationship? Or I think your words were like you were roommates.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth sailing, like that honeymoon phase that everybody likes to call it. It lasted for quite a while up until those last 3 or 4 years. It just kind of hit like a freight train. I started to see all these occurrences and problems starting to arise. It was a pretty rocky road towards the end there.
What were some things that you tried, or if you think that she tried anything, what did you see yourself trying, thinking that it might make the relationship better? Can you share some of that with us?
Absolutely. So I didn't just want it to get to a point where we couldn't even look at each other without something happening. Even with my job at the time being as rocky as it was, I figured, you know what, the least I could do is help around the house. I'll start doing the dishes. I'll start helping with the laundry. I'll become a house husband. Why the hell not? But it soon became pretty clear that it wasn't having the result I thought it was, because it started to feel as if we were more roommates than we were husband and wife.
Okay, gotcha. And so, as you're working on those things, is that kind of when she started voicing her concern that separation was in the near future for you guys?
Yeah, it was. And it's not like we hadn't had our fights before.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person, if I say or do something I'm probably going to regret later on, I'm just going to shut it down right there. But I started to notice when she had initialized a sort of pseudo grown-up conversation at the time. And one thing she
Okay.
said that really struck with me, it really hit a chord. I love you, but I'm not in love with you.
Okay. And what was your response to that?
I looking back on it now, I was pretty pathetic. I started begging, I started trying to compromise with her. I We had come so far, at least I thought so, and I didn't want to just throw that away.
Yeah, I understand that. And you guys have a daughter. Is your daughter that you have, this is your daughter together also, right?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely
Okay.
takes after her mother, that's for sure.
So now you're in a relationship where your wife is saying, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you," and you guys essentially separate while staying in the same home. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And so this is the
yeah.
point where you become, in your words, pathetic or needy or begging, which basically, as you well know through the program, that's just an immature way to show her I'm selfish. It's all about me. I care about me more than you because it's what I want, not what you want. And so this is when things went from bad to worse, though, right? As you guys are separated in your own household, you're now ignoring each other And then when you do cross paths, this is when you begin like the rageful, explosive fights. So at this point, when you guys had separated, I think you said a couple of months into the separation, this is when she had made the decision and told you openly, hey, I'm going to start seeing other people. I'm going to start dating because I want to have fun again, right? So where did that go? And kind of like, what were the feelings? Were there feelings of hopelessness, or were there more feelings of anger? Like what happened then? Because I know that's ultimately what led your actions to doing something that caused her to block you, like on her Facebook and Instagram. How did that transpire?
You know what? You're absolutely right. Like it was just this tsunami of rage and heartache and sadness. And you're absolutely right. Neither of us knew how to deal with that at that point. So when we did cross paths, we absolutely would blow up on each other. And, I don't want to say I came to terms with it. I don't want to say I was okay with it, but she did start seeing other people. Uh, and what's more, she even started bringing them into our home. I get it. We're separated,
Okay.
but that's still
This
my
is why
wife.
you guys were technically, yeah, but you guys were technically separated too, right? I mean, she had threw that out there that we're separated, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely a very emotional time frame. Dare I say more so than when the whole ordeal came down. And I did not handle it very well. I I think what led to our downfall the most was, I started making posts about how, family needs to be there for each other. We need to be able to support one another. And she did not take to that very kindly. Um, and ultimately, those are what led to our divorce. And like you said, she even ended up blocking me. She ended up blocking me on Facebook, Twitter, almost everything. The only time we would communicate is in the courtroom.
Got you. So you guys didn't actually end up getting a divorce, though, right? That's just when you did some snotty Facebook posts. That's when she filed the divorce, right? But you did. She didn't actually go through with it, correct?
Right.
Okay. Okay. I was just making
Yeah.
sure I understood. Okay. So what happened? How did you guys? I guess obviously, if she was to the point that she had blocked you on social media, at that point she filed the divorce, and that's when you moved out, right? Like you actually got separated, no longer in the home. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so that makes sense. And then were you guys still communicating? I know you had a daughter together, or you currently have a daughter together. Were you still communicating? Did you have any, if she blocked you on social media, were you guys still texting or talking, or, kind of paint a picture of what transpired next?
So soon after she had moved out and all of this had gone down,
Oh, she moved out. So
ultimately,
you stayed in the house?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
she
gotcha.
she moved in with her boyfriend. I had remained there with our daughter at the time. And what breaks my heart even more is that ultimately she became a victim as well. Our daughter did. Because what happened was ultimately we had to split 50-50 custody because she just wanted nothing to do with me at the time.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
It it I did not expect anything to work at that point.
Okay, that makes sense. It seems like you weren't fully committed in it. Maybe you were still letting yourself get in the way, like still blaming her, probably some additional resentment because she was dating this new hunk that was hot and heavy and more muscular and more paychecks and more everything, right? That's just the way it goes. And then, this is not that necessarily of a common theme, but I've seen it before, but it's not typical because it's not something that I encourage. But you actually had one of your friends encourage you to get back out there and date also, correct? And this is what gave you, if we want to call it, I guess in your case, it was an opportunity, because now you have these frameworks that we have been teaching you every single day as a new way of thinking on how to start a conversation and how to go through the conversation and how to finish the conversation like in a mature adult. And you were struggling with how to actually practice a new way of being mentally in your heart because you had resentment with this new boyfriend. And I get that. I understand that. We're emotional creatures. But what makes us the 1% of 1% of men is that we get to choose to not have our actions based on our emotions. And you found success in practicing that on dates, right? So you take the advice of your buddy, which I might recommend that in some situations, but you take the advice of your buddy and you start probably even resentment dating. Like you're like, well, if you're dating, I can date too. And then you started actually practicing the frameworks that I had taught you in the modules. You were practicing these on your date, and you were just floored at these women were just eating you up and falling all over you, that you even were dating women that were above your pay grade, like 5 grades, right? And they were still, it was just working on them because they could see that you were becoming the 1% of the 1%, and that's very attractive to any woman when they know that you're an emotionally safe, stable man. And I understand why you weren't having the successes. It probably did make it more difficult for you to really do that in your heart with your wife because you're hurt because she's dating somebody else. Which, if you could have done that with her, you wouldn't have had to go practice it with somebody. And we know for sure that it would have worked on your wife also, and it would have attracted her back, because once you started practicing this with some dates and seeing successes, that's when you actually made a change in your heart to start genuinely also doing this with your wife. Like, not fake it till you make it, but real. Is that correct?
Absolutely, it is. And
So that was that
you're
was
absolutely right.
that was what in that was in around Christmas time is when you were, like, through December, when you were going on the dates and you had started implementing this genuinely with your wife, probably like the first part of the new year of January of this year, correct?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay, gotcha. And so fast forward, so now you're blocked on social media because of your snide Facebook post. So now at this point, divorce attorneys are involved. She's not buying it because she can tell it's fake. It's not genuine change. But now you go out, you start dating some girls, and you're seeing some success with that, and you're like, "Gosh, it's fun just being like thinking like this for real because I'm happy. And if I can be happy like this with somebody I don't even know, and it's attractive to them because they keep texting me when I just did it really to piss her off, to piss your wife off." And you're like, wow, if I'm having this kind of success doing this genuinely with these dates that I'm going on, then I might as well give it a shot with my wife for real to see if there's any success. And so then we fast forward to the end of February, the beginning of March, and that's when she tells you, I see something in you, and breaks up with her boyfriend, correct?
Absolutely. And you're absolutely when first started implementing all of this, I started to understand that it was more of a mindset than it was like lessons or a script or something that I had to read. I started to understand that, holy shit, this isn't just what she wanted. This is what I wanted.
Ooh, I
This is
love
what's going to
that.
help me become better.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you said that not only did she notice it, your conversations with your daughter even became more intimate, like it connected you guys, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. She is very observant for her age, and it was kind of scary to see that even she was starting to pick up on like subtle changes in my mood and my mindset in just day-to-day activities. It was really impressive.
Yeah, I remember when you first joined the program, I understand you were hurt, like you were bitter because you were hurt because you kind of felt like you were being cheated on. And I won't get into semantics of where you cheated on. Your wife told you, hey, I want a separation and ultimately filed for a divorce. And so she started dating again. And so she threw that out there, like even put that out in the open. We're separated. I'm allowing you to stay in the house with me, and I'm staying in the house for the sake of our daughter, for financial reasons and all kinds of other reasons. But and then a couple months later, like we've been separated for 2 months. I'm lonely. I'm gonna go out and have a good time with a guy. And we can debate right or wrong, but at the end of the day, you got hurt, and your heart wasn't really in the program because you were full of pride. You were still making it about you. You weren't making it about, can I change who I am, which is somebody that's attractive that would make my wife want to be with me instead of needing to go outside of the home, needing to go outside of the marriage to find emotional safety, to find a conversation that's safe to have, that's enjoyable and fun. And then ironically, through a dare or, recommendation of one of your friends saying, hey, if she's doing it, you should do it. And maybe in the beginning that was like dating or resentment dating, which actually caused you to say, and it's easier if you're with a stranger to practice a new way of being because the stranger doesn't have confirmation bias. Like your wife was sitting over there thinking if she saw any successes, she's already biased that, okay, for the last 4 or 5 years, he's just been this big selfish jerk. And I've tried to tell him, but he isn't listening. And you're sitting here thinking, I thought things were great. Well, I mean, you know that they weren't less than peachy, but I'm offering right now a free masterclass. And at the end of that masterclass, I'm giving you an opportunity to apply to work with me. The website to do that is denvergriffin.com/masterclass. And if you're enjoying some of this content, please hit that like button and subscribe. I'm posting YouTube videos daily right now to give you free content in order to help you save your marriage. And I want you to be notified as those videos become available in real time. But it's easy to practice the frameworks with somebody that they're not biased against you, so you have no reason to resent them. So it is easier. That's actually one of the reasons that we do role playing in the program. And sometimes my wife will come in and volunteer. So it's not just guys role playing with guys, but even when we role play with each other, uh, it's still something that brings results because if you and I role play, like if you're the wife, I'm the husband, or vice versa, in your scenario, it's easier to make that real because you're not biased. Yes, she had resentment against you, but more so in this case, you actually had resentment against her. You resented her for wanting the separation. You resented her for wanting emotional fulfillment with somebody. Like, God forbid, she should have been happy being alone and sleeping by herself and never having a man to talk to. Like, what's wrong with her? She had those needs for companionship. What a bad effing B, right? but but then you're like, well, if she's doing it, I'm doing it. And then that ended up being a really beautiful story because your resentment is what led you to go date. And your date is what led you to practice on how to talk with the new way of being so it would become real, which ultimately it did become real. And I just love your story because not only did that become you became more attractive to your wife, but you became more attractive and having more intimate conversations with your daughter. And I love that you're now teaching your daughter that this is how your future husband should talk to you. Like you literally have dealt a new legacy to your family, to your granddaughter that's not even here
Absolutely.
yet. Like I know you don't want to talk about that, but but you understand what I'm saying. Like that just makes the story even that much more beautiful. So fast forward to March, she's ditched the boyfriend because she's realized that wow, I the boyfriend's like got it going on, but what am I leaving over here? Because this guy is becoming a one percenter, right? So that's in March. He ditches the boyfriend, and then April, you guys move back in and you're still going through the program. Like you've actually completed the program, the 7 weeks. So where are you guys at right now? So you guys are back together. Is everything peachy? Like where are you at now? Like did the marriage go back to the way it was when you were 18? Are you still having challenges? You know, we know that you got the success results of what you joined the program. You joined because selfishly you wanted your wife back. And then you realized that this is not just about my wife. This is about me being a happy person. Like I've literally changed. But where are you at now with this? And where is your wife at? I know she came back and she dumped the boyfriend and the divorce has been canceled and you're living together and your daughters, you know, even getting emotional safety and fulfillment with you.
So you're absolutely right. It is having a very profound effect, not only on me, but on her and on our daughter as well. But at least now we have the tools to know how to tackle those problems as a team as well as individually. And I love that.
Working on your marriage is what's hurting the marriage. I'm not a marriage counselor. I do marriage coaching. We focus on solutions. And if you have a spouse and your marriage is not that great and you're constantly nagging them on, let's work on the marriage, let's do this, that's just criticism. And working on the marriage is almost always what's killing the marriage. When you fell in love with your wife when you guys were 18 years old, you didn't work on the marriage to fall in love. You just hung out and had a good time and there wasn't any resentment and it was just like fun. And there's no reason it can't be that way 10 years into the marriage, 20 years into the marriage, 50 years, 70 years into the marriage. It's just tabling the serious talk for like a weekly business meeting. That way, you're not always talking about your problems. You set aside a time to talk about issues, and then you guys have a safe place where you share your opinions and then you come to an agreement. And even when you disagree, coming to that final agreement together can make your conflict something that can actually increase your love for each other, which makes it more fun. And you're like, wow, who would have thunk talking about our checking account could have been like uniting us, right? but when you see those changes where you've never in your entire marriage since you were 18 all the way now to 27, where talking about the checking account was never fun before and now it is, it's a new level of maturity. And you know, it's I love it when men come and tell me like what you're saying. This program is the easiest thing anybody has ever done in their life. I came up with this program because I was in your shoes. And I had already been through I had a marriage that was about 25 years that ended in a divorce, and I didn't want the divorce. 70% of women file the divorces and the men don't want them typically. And that was my case. And I tried all these different things to save that marriage. But it wasn't about the million things that I did right. It was about the one thing that I did wrong and it took it back to zero. And that marriage actually almost saved, but it ended in divorce because I would still mess up. And then the attorneys were involved and it happened. So I was like determined I didn't want that in my second marriage. And that's when I came up with this program. I started having some similar issues. I was diagnosed with cancer, went through that. And that was like a 2.5 year ordeal financially, physically, intimately. And I, some of those same issues in the form of resentment built up by my current wife on both parts. By me, I resented her for some things. She resented me for some things. But we were holding on to the stories that it's not my fault. She was holding on to the story, it's not my fault. And that was just a story which justified me resenting her. It was just a story that justified her resenting me. Well, then ultimately, I'm like, I can't stay in a relationship like this anymore. And she's like, Okay, fine. She gets on an airplane 2,000 miles away. And now I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, I really didn't want a divorce. And I sure don't want to be looking for wife number three. And now I have step grandchildren that I don't want to lose in a divorce. And I still loved her. I was not, I didn't, I don't want to say I was that person that said, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I was the person that was saying, I'm in love with you, but I freaking can't stand you. How do I be the one person that steps up to make it so I'm somebody she can stand, which will probably cause her to be somebody that I can stand, so the person that I'm in love with, I can live happily ever after. And I actually tried all these different things and I kept a journal and I said, I'm making this too hard. This is easy. This is simple, but it's not common sense. And my actions have to be most every action until I attract her back. I found myself getting to do the opposite of what I thought I should do and always the opposite of what I felt like doing. That's when my soul, my spirit took control of my flesh, which this. And so I practice what I always tell my clients, shut up, shut up, shut up. Because this thing, it wants to control and ruin everything. And so my spirit started saying, shut up, shut up, shut up. And I kept saying, shut up, shut up, shut up. When it was serious talk, shut up, shut up, shut up. She would say something that would trigger me. Shut up, shut up, shut up. She would on purpose do something that she knew was like, imagine like a chicken running across the piano. She was pushing all my buttons. As she saw that it was a genuine change, she would dance on the buttons to see if she could trigger me to see, is this real? And I stayed firm because it wasn't scripts, right? It was a framework for a new way of being that I got to the point in the program that I created that I was writing the successes as I was going through and doing it myself. I finally got to the point that I was like, you, she's going to be attracted back. I can tell. But at this point, I don't want anybody to, or any of our viewers to take this the wrong way. But I was like you. I got to a point where I'm like, it's not even about getting her back. I'm just a manly man and I have a mission in life that God has called me for. And I am walking into that mission and I'm not focused on resentment or focused on what she needs to do. God has a plan for me and I'm walking in that and just being a nice guy. And if she has something to talk about, even if it's something I don't like or I don't want to hear, it became beautiful. If she would share feelings like, I don't feel like I love you anymore, I started transitioning into the mindset of that is beautiful, that I have created an environment through changing how I think where you feel safe telling me that. So instead of being like offended by that or that being a trigger, it was me looking at her and thinking that's beautiful, that I've changed to the point that she feels comfortable raising the veil and let me see her heart just a little bit. And when she's like, I'm not sure if I love you anymore, and the way I responded that way is like, wow, I can understand why you would feel that way. It literally made her fall in love with me because I was just like, you know what? You're entitled to your own opinion. And after stepping back and looking at myself and understanding and truly changing, I'm like, I freaking get it. I get it, dude. I'm talking to my wife. We say that. But and that just became something where just like you, it was an attractive trait. And not only did it attract my wife back, it attracted my children. Like I have two boys that I've ended up being my oldest sons are like, in their mid-20s now. And I have a closer relationship with my boys than I've ever had before because it's safe. Now, I'm not, if I see something where like I want to give them advice or whatever, I don't always give them advice unless they ask for it because I have a new way of being and they're adults. They're entitled to have their own points of view. And if they share their point of view or something about their life or their thoughts, I might I might come back and share if they ask me, like, what do you think? I'm going to say what I think. But the fact that they would raise the veil, especially if they know that I don't think like that, the fact that they know I'm safe enough that they can tell me and share that with me and have those intimate conversations, it's life changing. Like, I never imagined the relationship that I have now with my grandchildren, that if I hadn't have went through this myself and designed this program to help to first of all change myself and save my own marriage, but now I'm sharing that how I did that with other men, and I can relate to almost every one of my clients because all of the bullshit that everybody has been through. I cheated on somebody. I've been cheated on. I told somebody I wanted a divorce. Somebody told me they wanted a divorce. I've been through a divorce. I've been remarried. I know what it's like to have a blended family and all that comes with that because I literally have experienced all of that. And more importantly, I think, is the scenarios that my clients that are coming into this program that they're experiencing. I remember intentionally, I keep a journal and I go back and refresh and put myself in those feelings. I remember what it felt like. I remember what it felt like when I found out that my ex-wife had a boyfriend and that there's a program out there that talks about limerence and, oh, if they have limerence and they're seeing somebody else, eventually well, she married her limerence. So you can't always count on limerence to fade and to get your spouse back. But I remember the way that that felt. And I also remembered in my current marriage when I decided to become mature and start teaching other people how to do it. I remember how it felt when I actually had a change in my heart, that the framework that I was practicing became real, like it did for you. And I remember that's when I called my wife, my current wife, and I said, I've actually said I'm sorry for some of these things that I did, but I want to apologize for something different. Not only am I sorry for the things that I did, which when I apologized the first time, that was basically me being selfish saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. Will you come back?" That's why I was apologizing. But when I had a change of heart following this framework consistently, I then called her and said, "I understand how I made you feel. And will you please find it in your heart to forgive me for the way that I made you feel when I did these things? Because I can actually put myself in your shoes now and understand all the times that I threatened divorce, what that meant to you, and the thoughts you must have thought when I was threatening our marriage to you. No wonder you fell out of love with me, or you thought you did. Who wouldn't? Like, constantly putting you in a position where you're responsible for my happiness, regardless of the reason. Regardless of the reason. And I think you can relate to some of that too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, I got a couple of bugs in here with the light on or whatever. I had the window open earlier. Well, so you guys are happily back together. You're still in the program. Uh, do you feel like you're going to continue the program past this 7 weeks? So I know that you're about to re-enter it again. So what ultimately made you to go into this this is second time, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Anything?
So,
Yeah. Share about that.
oops, sorry about that. Um, I think at this point, it's those little details that are going to be able to help me out the most. Um, Not necessarily like, okay, this is the course you need to take, this is the mindset you need to have, but like any tips or hints that could help me better approach any situation we face in the future.
Yeah. In your marriage, with your children, and your businesses. So one of the things that I want to share with people is, in addition to these YouTube videos, I also have some free content that I'm offering our viewers today. If you go to my website, it's denvergriffin.com/forward// masterclass. And I have some additional content on there that's of no charge to you. And I make a special offer at the end of that video. If you're somebody that you feel like that these videos are helping you, like they are helping with Chaz. But Chaz also took it a step further. In addition to the YouTube videos, attended the masterclass, saw some success with that, and then decided to actually reach out to me and request a client call. And I took you on as a client. So if you're somebody where you feel like that you need this immersion into a new way of thinking, a new way of being, like what we're talking about on this video today, step one of that is to attend my masterclass, denvergriffin.com/masterclass. Go through that, get some tips out of that, and start seeing immediate wins with that. And if you feel like you need more than that, schedule a call with me on there to go ahead and do a consultation to see if the program might be a fit for you. I've started doing the hybrid model where, in addition to the modules, you have the ability now to schedule unlimited phone calls with me where you can ask me personally any question that you want. And we now make those phone calls available to all of the men in our community. What's your thought on that? Like, when you've been on a phone call, like asking the question, but when you haven't scheduled the call, being present for those phone calls when somebody else is asking me that, what's your thought on that model? Has that been beneficial to you? And talk about that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, it has been. You know, one thing I'm not even sure if everybody is aware of. These aren't just my issues. You know, I don't know if that's something that some people are realizing in the back of their minds, but these are some really helpful things that cover a wide basis and that could assist you in almost any issue that you are currently dealing with in your own life.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's where a lot of people come back and say that not only do their marriages get better and their relationships with their children, like mine, their income goes up. I attract a lot of entrepreneurs, self-employed people, and every day people are telling me not only did my marriage get better, my income has went up 30%, 100%, 200%. So I love that you added that, because with that new brain that you have and the new way that you're thinking, if your daughter can see that, it's what we like to say in the program. There's other programs out there that tout that they have 70% success rate. And I'm just like, what the F are you? Why? Uh, uh, the normal failure rate for a marriage is 50%. So you're bumping it up 20%. Like, why would you even brag about that? That's just so ludicrous to me. You know what we say? 100%, 100% of the time. And if it's to be, it's up to me. You realize that if it's to be, it's up to you, and you actually step out and made that happen.